This is Corbett Campbell, and I am here to talk to you about how to find rural water for property in Oklahoma. Now, this is a question I get asked a lot as a real estate agent, and it's one that has many buyers confused, so this is just supposed to be a pretty quick, simple, easy guide on how to find rural water in Oklahoma. What you will start with is you will open up a website called the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. Once you open the website, it is going to show you a whole list of different things in different categories. What you are going to click is the Data and Maps section, which will take you to a mix of different other sites, but you are looking for a blue box that says Interactive Maps. You will click the Interactive Maps, and then it'll pull up a bunch of more viewers, and you will click OWRB General Viewer. It'll take a second for it to load. And then once this OWRB General Viewer loads, you will go over to the layers on the left-hand side. I generally turn off boundaries, and that's just to make it a little easier for you to be able to see what's going on. Then you can have two options to find your property. One is if your land has an address, you can insert an address up into the kind of top left corner. Most land in Oklahoma does not have an address. So what most people will do is they will either use a neighbor's address, or most commonly you'll have to use the other option, which is just manually zooming in on the map. So you will zoom in on the map. For instance, I'm going to use a property I own. I own 30 acres out in Okemah. So I'm going to kind of scroll around, Wewoka, Wetumpka. There we go. So I know my property sits in between Wetumpka and Okemah on East 1180 Road and Highway 27. So I know my property sits right about here. And then you can click actually this add data section if you wanted to add satellite imagery, and it will sometimes make it a little easier for you to distinguish what properties out there. Then you can turn that world imagery back off. You are then going to scroll down to see what area, if there's any system services in that area. So you will click one of the layers called Water System Facilities, and if there are any water lines, it will pop up on this image. So for rural areas, sometimes. Doesn't always mean that it'll show everything, but sometimes it'll work. For this instance, I can click it because one does pop up and it shows a system pipeline, Okfuskee County Rural Water Department number 2 with a 2-inch pipe. So if I already need to confirm rural water, I know that there's potentially, most likely, a 2-inch rural water line at the road, and that the county I would need to call would be Okfuskee County Rural Water Department number 2. Well, what do you do if no rural water pipeline shows up? You will click the Water System Service Areas, which now I'll zoom out a little bit, will show the general service area of some of the rural water departments in the area. For this instance, for this property, I can still see that it's served by Okfuskee County Rural Water Department number 2. But if they said they couldn't do it and would have me call someone else, I can also see that Hughes County Rural Water Department number 1 is also pretty close to this subject property and maybe also would serve it as well. Now that I know that there's a rural water line at the road, or that this area is served by Okfuskee County Rural Water Department number 2, I would open, you can either just Google search them. I personally prefer to use Google Maps. So I will open Google Maps, click Google Maps, and I will search Okfuskee County Rural Water Department number 2. It pulled it up for me, and then it opens a Google business page for Okfuskee County Rural Water District number 2. It gives me an address, it gives me a website, and it gives me a phone number. Now, you could either just click the website and look for an email if you don't want to talk on the phone, but often the most simple and fastest solution is just to give them a call. Now, when you call them, you want to have a couple things already in mind. You want to have your property location. You need to be able to easily explain it to them over the phone. You don't want them trying to guess where your property is. That makes it frustrating for you and them. So it's either being easily able to describe where your property is located, or having a neighbor's address makes it even easier. Then when talking to the rural water department, what you want to ask is, hey, do you guys know if you have any taps available in this area? What does that process look like? Are there any fees, things I need to keep in mind? How would I be able to figure out if this rural water line is on, which side of the road is it on? Is it on my side of the road for this property, or do you know if it's across the road? That can end up being a major difference, because often they could have to do what's called a bore, which is where they will drill under the road to run a line to your property, which adds fees. Last quote I had for one was about $2,000 per bore, and that was near Henrietta, Oklahoma. That would have been like February of this year. So costs can range anywhere and everywhere. You want to ask about, is there any setup fees? What does the monthly fee look like? Is there a minimum fee I have to pay? A lot of different costs and things that can add up quick. But that should give you a basic general overview of how to at least get started. If you got any other questions, feel free to give me a call. Also, always happy to help.